So then the governor goes out and has a press conference, and just quoting from the transcript, he says, yes, I have absolutely no reason to believe that, Angie. I've made it very clear to everybody on my senior staff that if anybody had any knowledge about this, that they needed to come forward to me and tell me about it, and they've all assured me that they don't. Isn't that statement contradicted by this email?
The focus that morning was, as it was the day before, was anything to do with closing the lanes. So I don't know exactly what he said. I'm sure if you're reading a transcript, it's accurate, but that's what the focus was on.
She had knowledge about the lane closure.
She knew about the lane closures while they were closed based on this email.
And the governor said, everybody's assured me that they don't have any knowledge.
If you could read exactly what was said, just for the record.
Yes, I have absolutely no reason to believe that, Angie. I've made it very clear to everybody on my senior staff that if anybody had any knowledge about this, that they needed to come forward to me and tell me about it, and they've all assured me that they don't.
Sheriff, just for clarification, because I don't have that in front of me, is there a question that the governor was responding to?
The question was, Governor, can you say with certainty that someone else didn't on your staff or in your administration act on your behalf for the lane closures for political retribution? That's a question from Angie at the AP.
And if I can, the reason I was asking the question because the word "this" is used, and the question denominates what this refers to.
The lane closures.
Right, the lane closures, not knowledge of the lane closures.
They assured. The governor's statement says that if anyone had any knowledge, this is his response to the question. So Angie asks, can you say with certainty that someone else didn't act on your behalf? And he says, I've asked everybody on my senior staff if they had any knowledge about this, about the lane closures. Any knowledge about the lane closures.
No, and I don't have it in front of me, and I know we try to work hard together today.
Okay. Your microphone's not on, so nobody hears what you're saying.
Right, I'm sorry. There we go. I thought that the question included act on, and then there was more to that question.
Question again, Governor, can you say with certainty that someone else didn't on your behalf or in your administration act on your behalf for the lane closures for political retribution? And the governor, in responding to that question, so we're clear, I've made it clear to everybody on my senior staff that if anyone had any knowledge about this, referring back to the question that was asked, any knowledge about the lane closures, that they needed to come forward to me and tell me about it, and they've all assured me that they don't.
Right. And for the record, it says act on the lane closures
Do we
for
have
political
a copy
retribution.
That we can put it up?
I think it'd be helpful if we can give him the council a copy as well. So I think there's confusion, Chair, as to what the question is and whether it's responsive in the email.
It's up right there, Senator.
Wow, I can barely read that one.
We'll get your glasses.
Do you mind if I stretch?
You can do whatever you like. Do we have a copy for him?
What's that?
That's the email.
I would submit that the phrase "this" is framed by the question, and the question refers to political retribution.
Okay, now that you've suggested the answer to Mr. O'Dowd, Mr. O'Dowd, prior to the governor stating that he made it clear to anybody on my senior staff that if anyone had any knowledge about this, that they need to come forward to me and tell me about it, and they've assured me that they don't. Isn't that statement contradicted by by the email that Bridget Kelly received?
Yeah, I can't respectfully, Co-Chair, testify to what the governor thought or what he was trying to communicate.
I'm not asking you what he thought. He made a statement. You've got it in front of you now. It's up on the board. But he's asked everybody on his senior staff, and they assured me that they don't. At that point in time, when the governor made this statement, you were aware, and Bridget Kelly was aware, of an email from Christine Renna. Isn't that contradictory?
Yeah, if we could for a second, he doesn't have it right in front of him yet, so which page is it on? It doesn't say up there what page it is, I'm sorry.
3-2.
Thank you. It's this one right there. Angie.
Okay, I've read it.
You recall my question?
I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay. At the point in time that the governor makes this statement, there is an email that a member of his senior staff, Bridget Kelly, is aware of that discusses the lane closures and that she received it contemporaneous with the lane closures.
That's correct.
Doesn't that fact contradict his statement?
A plain read of this, it seems to be inconsistent. And the governor was aware, as I testified to earlier, that I handed him that document prior to that press conference.
Okay. So then going forward, the governor goes out on the podium and says a lot of things, including this two-sentence exchange that we're talking about. After he says this, do you go back to the governor and say, Governor, you might have forgotten, you might have misspoken, but there was this Renna email that we talked about?
I did not. My impression of that what occurred that morning and from the day before, the focus was on whether or not anyone from our team had anything to do with closing the lanes. And the distinction that you're making now is not one that jumped out at me at the time.
So even though she had this email and it impliedly, if not explicitly, contradicted the governor's statement, you did not go back and say, hey, I just want to make sure you're aware of this for purposes of correcting the record?
I don't remember hearing this and having that reaction or having that follow-up with him.
So then after this point in time, the governor's made his press statement, everybody's left the outer office. Subsequent to that, you then speak with Bridget Kelly again.
I do.
And she reveals to you an Ashmore email, correct?
Correct. An email that she received from Gene Ashmore that I believe contained Senator Weinberg's letter to Pat Schuber.
Now at that point in time, does the thought cross your mind, geez, now we've got another email. I've got to go back and see the boss and tell him that we've got two emails now. Did you?
I did tell him about that.
Okay. And did you, at that point in time, say, and you might want to think about correcting the record on what you said earlier, because Bridget did have an email contemporaneous from Mayor Sokolich or through Christine Renna about Mayor Sokolich's complaint?
I don't believe I did that. Again, my focus and my impression and understanding of what that press conference was about was focusing on whether or not people on the senior team had anything to do with closing the lanes. But the answer to your question, Co-Chair, is I didn't do it.